your weight really can play a part in your pregnancy potential. It actually can make a huge impact. I'm Denise Noyer-Erez, and my patients call me the Fertility Godmother. And I've had the blessing of helping over 500 couples get pregnant and have healthy babies. And I'm excited to be with you today because we're going to be talking about weight and how that can impact your chances of getting pregnant. Because it really impacts your hormones. If you're underweight or overweight, it affects your ovulation. It can impact your IVF treatments. Even men being overweight impacts your fertility. Every cycle that you're trying, it impacts that as well. So we're going to be talking about all these different things today. I'm going to just give you some tips, and then I'll share with you some things you can do about it. It also impacts IVF, in case I missed that. So without further ado, please give us a thumbs up and share this video so we can help other people just like yourself that are trying to get pregnant, have healthy babies, and actually get pregnant. So here's some things you can do. So let's talk about overweight, how that impacts your fertility and your ovulation. So what happens when you're overweight? You have excess fat. So let's define overweight. So I think if you're more than 25 pounds overweight, then that would consider being overweight. So they use a reference guide with a BMI, but that's such a vague reference. They don't take it into account of if you're working out and you're overweight, if you're healthy, you're still eating really healthy and you're overweight. If your body your muscle, they don't take into account that when they do BMI. So I don't like to use that as a reference point, but in general, if you have an excess of 25 pounds of fat, it's going to impact your fertility because it's impacting, as you know, your whole body. And what happens is the fat, there's these hormones called adiponectin in your fat that communicate with the rest of your cells in your body. And also fat stores estrogen, and fat stores some of these toxins that are endocrine disruptors. So that's going to impact all the hormonal communication because all your cells are communicating with each other. And so that's one way. So it can affect your ovulation. Your ovaries can start producing male hormones instead of estrogen. You can start producing androgens, and that will really impact your chance of ovulation. And if you have PCOS, you're probably really aware of that. The other thing is being underweight. That can absolutely cause a problem too, because then you're not having enough fat, right? It's all about the balance with everything. So you don't have enough fat. Your body's not nourished enough. Your hormones are actually made from cholesterol. So you actually need some fat in order to produce hormones. So if you're not producing enough hormones, then you also can have an ovulation as well. For men being 20 pounds overweight can decrease their fertility by 10%. So it affects men as well. So if you're having, I always look at this as a couples issue. So both of you want to be as healthy as possible, and do all the right things, especially if you've been challenged. If you're preparing to have a baby, then this is one thing you can do. You can either, drop a few pounds, exercise, eat really healthy and clean. And if you need to gain weight, then that's really important as well, to just gain a few pounds. And that will make a huge difference in your fertility so that you have the right hormones. I've seen several women who've come in and I've had them to go do blood work, and their cholesterol levels are really low. But if your cholesterol levels are really low, then you're not going to be able to produce the hormones that you need for your body to be able to communicate in order to have a nice, good ovulation and a good menstrual cycle. So those are some of the things that can really impact the weight. And so it really impacts your ovulation, and it really impacts, which will impact your whole cycle. The other thing is same with men as well. If their fat is going to store those toxins, those endocrine disruptors, which will have a big impact on their fertility. So if you're getting ready to do IVF, right, some of the doctors will actually have you go and lose weight before you do IVF because you're going to have a lower response to the medication. They're going to have to give you a lot more medication in order to get a response. And then on top of that, especially if you're PCOS, you have a higher chance of overstimulating, which is a big risk. They've also did studies that with women who have been overweight, that it can actually decrease the amount of eggs, healthy embryos received if you don't have PCOS. And also it decreases your chance of implantation rate. And so it decreases your chance of having a successful IVF. So there's been, I've worked with lots of doctors who have told women to go lose some weight before you do IVF. And sometimes they need to take a good 3-month period and lose, a good 20 pounds. And sometimes they need just to lose a few pounds, and that'll make a big difference. So even if you just lose 10% of your body weight, it can make a really big difference. So one of the problems is that, especially if you have PCOS and you're overweight, is the insulin resistance. So if you're having insulin resistance, then it makes it more challenging to lose weight. So that means if you're one of those people that are really eating clean and really sticking to a strict diet, but yet the weight feels like it's never coming off, there might be some insulin resistance going on there. And so it may be more challenging. But again, just getting some movement and getting a few pounds off, there's just something about getting everything functioning properly it makes a really big difference. So they've done studies on men as well, where they've had that bariatric surgery, and from obese men, and by dropping the weight, it definitely increased their sperm quality. So it affects both of you, both the men and the women. So this is one thing that you can absolutely do something about on your own. And there's different diets for if you're insulin resistant or if you're struggling losing weight. You have to find out something that works for you. There's the ketogenic diet, which you may have heard, that works really well, especially if you have PCOS or insulin resistance. And what that means is you really have a high fat diet, so really, really high quality fats. You'll be able to nourish your body and sustain your sugar levels so that you're able to decrease that insulin sensitivity and actually be able to lose weight. You can also do something that's not as extreme as a ketogenic diet and do more of a paleo diet. So where you're still allowed to have more carbs, but you're not having the sugary carbs, right? So avoiding sugar is going to be a key component. So I really like making sure that you're eating tons of vegetables and mixing the raw and the cooked vegetables. It's really important to have a balance on both. And pay attention to your body. Pay attention to, learn your body. We really believe that your body is worth knowing and worth knowing well, because your body is going to tell you what you need to know. So there's some people who do a ketogenic diet, especially women, and they just don't feel well. They need to have some healthy carbs. Their energy starts to crash. And there's some women that just thrive on the ketogenic diet. So it's up to you to really figure out what works best for you and try different things on. Try doing a ketogenic diet and see how that works for you. Otherwise, you can still have a few carbs, and I usually like to say no more than 3 servings a day. I think 2, no more than 2 is optimal, but for sure no more than 3 servings a day. And that will make a big difference for you. So it's something to play with. So please be sure to share this video and give us a thumbs up. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. I'd love to help you out. So just to kind of do a recap, that weight definitely has a big impact because your ovaries aren't going to be functioning optimally. It's really just if I was to summarize it and make one key point, and it's due to, if you're having too much fat, you can be producing different hormones like testosterone, androgen, instead of estrogen in order to produce. You're also going to store more estrogen, and you're going to store more toxins that are endocrine disruptors. Oh yes, thank you, Haley. If you're interested, we would love to share with you our fertility diet. You can just type it in the chat below, in the comment section below. So type in fertility diet, and we can give you a guide more specific about what foods to eat for your fertility, and that will also help you lose some weight. And I want to just, on that being said, I want to just let you know that we will be doing another group fertility cleanse coming up in April. I'm super excited about that. So if you're not pregnant when April comes around, you're ready to do something different and you're not in my practice already, then consider doing that. Really prepare your body for pregnancy fertility cleanse. It's really gentle and it'll help get you on the right track, help you lose weight, help you get rid of those toxins, help you feel amazing. It's really great. But back to you, just moving your body, getting some of that fat out, is going to be a really big deal for you. The other thing is if you're underweight, just gaining 3 to 5 pounds. I know I've worked with women. I know how, if you're underweight, how challenging it is for you as well to gain weight. And, but you only need to gain a couple pounds. So I know it works in both directions. We always want something that we don't have. But you can just take baby steps and move forward, and so that you can have a better chance of getting pregnant and having a healthy baby and keeping yourself healthy in the meantime, because we don't want you to go through whatever all this stuff, whether this emotional, and then if you're doing IVF, to going through all those medications and risks in order to not be healthy yourself and put yourself at risk. So just take some time and do everything you can to lose a few pounds, get things moving. And I hope that's helpful for you. Please give me a thumbs up and share this video, and we'll see you next week. Here's to your fertility.